Hi, Ben here and welcome back to another Work in Progress Wednesday. So it's been a busy week again already. Today I'm mostly working on gluing up some carving tools. So I've got all the carving tool blades sorted and I've allocated them to all their relevant handles. So we've got quite a wide selection here. We've got some left-handed versions, we've got a flatter, we've got a small, and we've also got some mediums. We've got some more mediums over there to glue up as well. So basically what I do is I make sure that all the blades fit the handles nicely, and before I actually glue the blades into the handle I make sure that I actually polish the blade itself and get it all polished on the inside. And basically it is sharp at this stage. There's probably just a burr left on there which I will polish and hone out when it's actually glued up, but I know that this is pretty much going to be a perfect cutting edge. And what we do is we fit each blade to each handle, and when we fit the crook knife or the sloyd knife to the handle, what we're looking for is a really good sort of mechanical fit. The glue, the epoxy that we use, is purely only there to prevent the blade from being pulled out of the handle. What we're looking for is a really good positive fit, so there's no side to side movement, there's no sort of slop in the hole. What we've got is a really nice fitting. You're almost creating a tenon and a mortise joint basically. Obviously this is a tang when it's in knife making, but if it was a woodworking joint we'd have our tenon and we'd have our mortise, and the glue is purely just to hold it in place. So we've got these all prepped. What I normally do is just wipe a little bit of WD-40 on there to prevent the glue from sticking to the blade, which I don't want, but I clean the tangs of the crook knives with a bit of acetone or a bit of isopropyl alcohol so that the glue's got a really good adhesion to those tangs. And I get them all laid out so I'm ready to go. What I then do is I use a good quality epoxy resin, and what I tend to use is a relatively quick epoxy resin for this. For the full tang knives I will use a much slower, or what they call a more open life. So basically once you mix these two-part epoxies you've got what they call an open working time. So for the full tangs I use G-Flex epoxy, which has got like an open time of about 45 minutes. This sets pretty quick. This is a new one that I've been using over the last couple of years. So this is this Silverhook Super Epoxy, and it sets pretty fast. Like when we had that hot weather it was setting really quickly. So what I do is I've got my little timer, and I've found that I've got about 3 minutes of working time to glue up these crook knives. So you can't mix too much and you just have to do small batches. So I'll mix a bit of epoxy up. So obviously you've got, with any epoxy you've got a resin and then you've got a hardener. So that's the resin, and you want equal parts. So that's the hardener. And then I've made these highly sophisticated tools which are basically bits of either brass or steel rod. Because the hole is quite narrow we want to make sure that we can get that glue down into the hole. So mix this up, and once I'm happy that I've got it good and mixed I'll set my timer, and then we'll grab one of these crook knives. So we'll grab a right-handed one, we'll take the blade out and we'll get some of this epoxy, and it's quite nice and runny, that's the main thing, and we want to get that into the mortise. Make sure you get a good dollop right down into the bottom of the hole. I know some people will use like a wooden plug or glue or mastic and things like that. The only trouble is if you use a sort of wooden dowel to hold the blade in, you end up with quite a large hole, obviously depending on the width of your tang, and then you end up with a really chunky end to your handle. I like to keep these nice and narrow near the blade so that you can get close to your spoon. So what I'll do then is start to push the blade in, and this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this epoxy to be squirted out all the way around the tang. That shows me that I've got sufficient glue inside the handle. So just gently waggle it, let it go in, and then at that stage I will wipe a little bit of that excess off, and then I'll get a little bit of cloth and a little bit of isopropyl alcohol, and I just clean off any of that extra glue that's run down the handle, just like so. It's a little bit fiddly. Sometimes you feel a bit like Winnie the Pooh with his pot of honey. You end up covered in the stuff. But this is actually quite a good epoxy because it's not too runny and it's not too thick. It's about finding the right one. So at that stage I'll just check that I've got the blade the right way round. If I'm putting it in a hybrid handle, I need to make sure I've got the shape of the handle correct. For those of you who don't know, that's what we call our hybrid handle, with that curved handle. And then I've got to wait for that glue to cure. So I don't want that glue to run out, so you can't just lay them flat on the bench. So what I've come up with is I've got this little tray, and I've got this little tray full of rice, and that works really nicely just to hold that blade upright and allow that glue to cure. The reason why I went over to rice, I used to use media from my sandblasting cabinet, but I went over to rice because it's a little bit nicer. It doesn't get on the cutting edge itself if you're using blasting media. This is fairly safe. It's fairly nice to have kicking around on the floor. It's not unpleasant to work with. And I saw it on a video with people manufacturing paintbrushes, and they were sticking their paintbrushes in when they stuck the bristles in, and I thought that works really good. So what I'll do is I'll glue a few more up, and then I'll end up just with a whole tray of Crook knives in the rice. After about 15 minutes the glue will be plenty cured enough. Oh, there's the timer going off. The glue will be plenty cured enough that I can then just trim off any excess, and then they're ready for honing. So while the Crook knives are drying on the other side of the workshop, it's great because I've normally got a few other jobs on the go. So at the moment what I've got is some Kydex to finish off. So I've moulded some Kydex yesterday for some nomads, so I need to drill these and shape the Kydex. This one I actually did get finished. So I've got this nice micarta one that's going out to a customer. So he's gone for green canvas micarta, and he's actually gone for an ABL blade on this one as well. So this is actually not a chunky because it's only got thinner liners in there, but really cool colour combination. So that one's ready to rock. And I've also finished off one of our 3-inch trekkers. This is in ABL steel. This is for another customer who's got quite a few of our tools, and he's going out to Sweden. I think he said he was going out there, so he wanted a sort of lightweight, almost like an EDC, but he's gone for, rather than the paracord, he's gone for green canvas micarta and red liners on there. And normally what I do with the smaller knives is I'll normally add a little blood knot, something like that. Adds to the handle length, but it also allows you to withdraw it from the sheath a little bit easier as well. So this is mostly set up for a net carry, but we've added a tech lock on there as well because he said that he might like to carry it on his belt as well. So yeah, really happy how that one's come out. And then just finishing off this Hunter Orange parang. So what I normally do with the parangs is I normally add a bit of paracord for the wrist loop. So I've got 2 bits cut here. So I'll put that wrist tie on. I know not everybody's a fan of sort of lanyards or wrist ties on parangs, but what I tend to do is add it so you've got it if you want to use it, but obviously you can take it off if you don't. If you want to, check out our using a parang video. That shows you a safe method of actually using a wrist tie. There are safe ways to use it and really dodgy ways of using it, so check out that video. And then what I normally like, because they're quite a big knife, big tool on your belt, to stop it flapping around, I normally like to add a little leg tie, so you can tie it to your leg, to your thigh, with the soft loop belt loop system that we put on the parangs. It means that it's got plenty of articulation on your body, but it just stops it sort of flapping around too much. So I normally just put one of those on there as well. Like I say, you don't have to use them, you can take them off if you don't want to use them, but at least you've got the whole thing set up ready to go. So yeah, that one's all finished off. This is again in Hunter Orange. This has got black liners, and this is in this new ABL steel. Makes a super bomb-proof, weatherproof tool. I took mine like this for exactly the same colour combination as this. I took mine up to the Lake District, and it was just unbelievable. It really was. We had like a week of totally minging wet weather, and it was bomb-proof really. So yeah, really like these bits of kit really. So yeah, that's all ready to go. So the epoxy's all cured, and I've cleaned off any excess, and then I've actually taken it to the buffer and I've polished that edge, totally removed the burr. and now it's razor sharp now. So this is basically ready to be put. We normally put a little bit of oil on there and then put a little protective blade wrap on there before we send it out to you, but every tool that you get from us will be razor daisy ready to go really. So just to show you the sort of level of sharpness that you'll get with the Crook knives or the carving tools or even the full tang knives. We've got a nice bit of willow here, and it just slides straight through that piece of wood, making those lovely little shavings, and pretty much within a few passes you've got a little spoon, you know. So really nice and sharp. The reason why we sort of pride ourselves in sending you out a razor sharp tool is you know that that's how sharp you can get it. So with some practice and with some skills and even following some of our sharpening tips on our videos, you should be able to maintain your lovely sharp Crook knife. And sharp tools are a pleasure to use when you're working, whether you're crafting a spoon or whether you're doing any other kind of woodcraft really. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing what we've been working on in the workshop this Wednesday, and remember to subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.